WCW Starrcade, 1996. It's the match of the century, everybody. The match of the decade, the match of the century, the match of the millennium. That's right. Medusa versus Akira Hokuto. We're here in December of 1996, and WCW's starting to figure things out. Got some nice cruiserweight action. We got the NWOs cooking. And we also got Chris Benoit and Kevin Sullivan doing a lot of really uncomfortable stuff. Yeah. But I mean, there's still a lot of wet, veiny, muscular men on this show, so it can only be so bad, right? All that and more right here on the Apron Bump Podcast.
And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock this. Let's get it started.
What is up, everybody? Hello. How the hell are you? Glad you could be here. Howdy. I'm Woody. Howdy. Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I am your host, the hardest part of the ring, Kyle Bird. WCW Starrcade, 1996, the final show of 1996 from all companies, from WWF, from ECW, from WCW. We are tying a bow on the year of 1996. Boy, howdy, what a year it's been. And we'll get more into that. We're going to dive into this entire year coming soon, because if you've been listening to the Apron Bump, which if you haven't been, what the fuck have you been doing? But with this timeline, because I cover a lot of timelines, we go all over the spectrum of years and promotions and all that stuff, right? But in this particular timeline, the mid-90s, the Wrestling Wars of the 90s, which is a consolidated timeline of WWF, WCW, and ECW, after every one of these episodes, we conclude with the hardest promotion battle of 1996, where we look at the spreadsheet, we look at the scoreboard, and we see which promotion is doing the best so far this year. This is based on in-ring, out-of-ring, all that stuff, right? Pay-per-view quality, all of it, right? We have points associated to different things. We grade the shows individually, and we roll it all up into one score, and we see which promotion is doing the best. Now, this is the final show of 1996, but this is not the finale of the hardest promotion battle. That will be occurring this weekend. If you're listening to this when it drops, it'll be occurring Saturday, July 20th at about noon Eastern. Make sure to be following me on social media in case that time changes, but it will be Saturday during the afternoon at some point, but most likely it'll be noon. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. It's all in the description. If I already have the live stream ready to premiere, make sure you hit the bell so that you're notified when it happens. But in that finale, we'll be kind of reminiscing about the year, but we'll also be looking at the scoreboard and seeing, have I missed some stuff? Maybe the match of the year that I have, maybe there's a match that I haven't even thought about that might be better, or maybe the worst wrestler, maybe the guy that I'm tracking as the worst wrestler of the year, maybe there's someone worse. Maybe there's stuff I'm not taking into account. Maybe there's things I'm missing. I'm welcoming all input from the Apron Bump community to steer the ship. Make sure we have this right, because this is a big deal, right? Because the winner of this hardest promotion battle will earn a purchase of a championship belt from yours truly. And so whoever has the highest score will get that championship belt on the, on my waist or on the shoulder, or maybe I'll tuck it in my pants like John Morris. I don't know. But that being said, I say all of that because, and again, I'll be posting more on social media, but feel free to send me a DM. Stay tuned to the end where we, kind of wrap this bad boy up. But so basically at the end of this episode, we're going to establish a rough draft of the final scoreboard. It won't be until the finale on Saturday where we kind of lock in these points. We lock it in and finalize the winner. But stay tuned to the end of this episode see where we're at, and send me DMs or leave a comment on the YouTube video. Hit me up on social media. Do you disagree with anything? Do you think that maybe there's other things I should consider? Feel free to send a DM. You can send a voice message. You can send a video message. Just send a thumbs up. Send, send a picture of your belly button. I'll try to interpret what that means. But do all of that. And I'll be reading stuff out on Saturday during the live stream from whatever input you send me. So it'll be a good time. But like I said, I'll put more information about it on the X and probably the Instagram and stuff too. So that'll be fun. But that aside, we got Starrcade 1996 to talk about. What a show. What a show from the WCW. Some fun stories going on. Obviously, the NWO is cooking. So a lot of the stories kind of stem from that. But we'll get into the nitty gritty of that. We got Roddy Piper versus Hulk Hogan in the main event, which is being dubbed Match of the Century, which don't know if I agree with that, but maybe it is. Who knows? We'll get more into that. We got the U.S. title, which has been vacant. We got the finals occurring here. We got DDP versus Eddie Guerrero. We got Chris Benoit versus Jeff Jarrett. We got a couple cruiserweight matches. We got a women's title match, which is like a needle in the haystack with WCW. So it's a very interesting show. Not a bad show. There are some bad stuff on it, but it was a fun watch, and it was fun talking about it with my good friend Juice from the Juice Box Wrestling Podcast. You can check him out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Soon to be coming to YouTube or wherever he distributes his video version of the podcast. I assume YouTube. Could be, Omegle or Periscope or Tout or something. I don't know. He's a loosey-goosey boy. The juice is loose, as they say. But he does a great podcast. New episodes every Friday, talking about the current scuttlebutt of the world of professional wrestling. Gets into a lot of different stuff. Always an entertaining time. I strongly suggest you check it out. All of his info will be in the description below. Big WCW guy, so I was happy to have him on. He's kind of like, I think I said it in the recording. He's like the Mike Tenay to my Dusty Rhodes. I'm just kind of bumbling and stumbling along, but he's here to really right the ship, tell me what the moves are called, and I'm here to make fun of him for it. So, but no, it was a fun time having Juice on, and yeah, I think that about does it, right? Follow me on Apron Bump on all the social medias. You know the deal. You know all that stuff. Hey, you like this timeline? You're hearing about these wrestling wars of the 90s. You might be saying, hardest part of the ring. By golly, I'd love to listen to you gallivant about all of it. Well, hypothetical listener, I got good news for you. You can go to the link in the description where I direct you to all of these episodes. But basically, you can go to apronbump.com, go to the episodes tab, select Wrestling Wars of the 90s, and that'll bring you to chronologically all the WWF, ECW, and WCW events that I've covered in one luscious timeline, covering all the good and the bad, because that's 1996 has been a big range of quality. But it's been a fun time talking about it. So if you're coming in maybe for the first time, or maybe you're just behind, I suggest you go binge away because it's a good old time. And let's stop the blabbering, shall we? Let's get into the episode, baby. WCW Starrcade 1996 with myself and Juice from the Juice Box Podcast. WCW's your like go-to promotion, right?
It is. I have a collection of pay-per-view T-shirts from 1990 to 2001 that I'm trying to complete, because the ones before 90, they're pretty much NWA, and they're also very few and far between. So to get them is almost impossible. So 90 to 01 is my goal, and I have every one from 97 to 2001. So I'm like 10 away.
What's your favorite WCW T-shirt?
Oh man. The ones from 94 are really cool. Like the designs are really cool.
Right.
I don't know. I think the one I really like, if just to pick out of nowhere, I think Bash at the Beach 95, because it was outdoors, and there's two. It's blue, and there's also an orange one. It's like it's got like the temperature thing on it, but it's like a tie-dye-ish look. They're very unique. So I would say that, but I mean, some of the logos on the earlier ones are so incredible, but as you get to like the last three, Sin, Super Brawl Revenge, and Greed are just like little logos on the shirt, and like everything else is just a color.
I was checked out at that point.
Absolutely.
Like,
I'm just happy that they made the shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, those mid-90s, like just the entire aesthetic I love. Like I think you commented on the tank top I had, the Bash at the Beach one with the blue.
Oh yeah.
Like just the vibrant colors, and it was just that 90s like Taco Bell color type of deal.
Yeah. The cup.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm talking about as soon as I say that.
Everybody does. That's right. What I immediately think about. But
yeah, the Taco Bell thing for sure. I feel like those stuck around for a while. There might be some that are still like that in lesser populated areas.
I hope so. You go find them if so. But
that's America. That's what it is.
Yeah. I wonder if they have them in where were they for the show?
Scott Hall in Nashville. Did you see that sign?
Yes, I forgot. Oh man, I'm surprised that wasn't more of like a character. I guess maybe like in like modern days it would be.
There is something that a fan did in this show that I was floored seeing. I could not believe someone actually did it, and we'll get into it.
Oh well, I can't wait. What a tease!
I know. Look at me. Short notice, and I'm bringing the heat.
Man, this guy just driving the ship. But yeah, Starrcade 96, man. What'd you think about the show? I assume you've seen this multiple times, but
I've seen it multiple times. Going in, I'm already dreading the main event because it's not even for the title. They never mention anything about the title. It's kind of frustrating because like, oh, he got this big win. And like, yeah, he did. It's not like Luger at SummerSlam 93, but cool, he won. Like whatever. He gets a title shot later down in 97, but it is what it is. But the undercard for this show I thought was stacked clearly. And then it's literally as soon as the back half of it kicks in, 4 out of the last 5 matches have interference. 3 out of those are the NWO.
Yep. That's WCW for you.
Exactly.
But yeah, so like I wasn't watching live as this was happening. So you were, right? You were watching this as it was happening.
I mean, kind of. I was gonna turn 4 the following month from this show.
Okay.
So like I was definitely watching. Like my parents would watch it and I was watching it, but I don't recall from then. But I mean, even as WCW folded, anything on WWE 24/7, I'm trying to find and watch. Any VHS tapes I had, I'm trying to watch. So I always kept up with what happened in the 90s well after the fact until we finally get Peacock.
Yeah. Yeah, I asked that because I guess if you could put yourself in the shoes of somebody watching this in December of 1996, Hogan versus Piper, is that like at the time of this happening, would you say that is the match of the decade as they were advertising it as?
Or as they also clarified, match of the century, Michael Buffer said. I think I would, purely because, one, Roddy Piper, this is fun. He main evented this show, but he was also victorious at WrestleMania the same year. One of 9 people to ever be at both of the same year. But I think he's the only one that won both of his matches in those.
That's crazy.
The only other one that he won 2 of the matches, but he lost a third. Luger at the previous Starrcade. He was at WrestleMania 11 and they won. The Allied Powers, right. They won. And then he's in the World Cup of Wrestling. He wins, but then he loses in that triangle match to face Flair in the world title match. So,
ooh, that's a stat. That's actually pretty cool. I never really thought. Yeah, it's crazy the year Roddy had. He was at a backlot brawl with Goldust, and now he's just immersed in this NWO nonsense, beating Hogan in the main event.
And Heenan's like, he looks in the best shape of his life. And I said, you know what? I don't know.
Who, Piper?
Because even the month previous at World War III, they do the angle of the contract signing, and they have his hip shown where he has that surgery, and they show the huge scar. So I don't know if he's in the best shape, but if I'm a fan in my teens or maybe even like in my 20s, and I recall 10 years prior, WrestleMania 1, and like how Piper and Hogan had these interactions. Yeah, I'm like ready for this. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they got him in. And I will talk about it later, but like the Hogan promo before the match, all those people are just WWF stalwarts from the 80s, and it's crazy. They just like transplant them in, and it's like, here, you're WCW guys now, like act a different way. Like it's so bizarre.
Yeah, it's Roddy and Hogan. I mean, even in 96, that has a lot of value to it, and that's kind of what this whole show is built on, is these two fighting, how Roddy's the only guy that Hogan never beats, and Hogan's the big bad world champion. But to your point, the title's not on the line in the main event, but who cares? It's the match of the century, you know?
That's right. Bigger stakes. That's what Eric Bischoff says. There has to be stakes. I don't know what stakes there were in this match.
No bigger stake than the pride winning of victory. Yeah. So, but to your point, there will be a title. Is that the cage match where they fight for the title?
They do fight at Halloween Havoc for the cage in a cage. That's when Savage does that.
Yeah.
Like axe handle when he breaks his knees in half.
Ends his career, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they wrestle at Super Brawl 7 in February, where Piper stays a week in Alcatraz. It's a fantastic build for that.
You know what? I'm not surprised. But yeah, that's the tip of the iceberg when it comes to ridiculous stories for WCW. But yeah, man, Starrcade, we're here. Biggest pay-per-view of the year, right? That's kind of like their marquee show, right?
So I was going to bring that up. They even say in this beginning, the granddaddy of them all. And in recent years, Eric Bischoff has said, no, not really. We kind of thought that Halloween Havoc was our like tentpole, quote unquote, event, even though it had only been around for so long. You look at the main events of those shows, and they're always pretty, I guess, stacked, like Hogan Savage, Hogan Flair in a cage, monster trucks. But the Starrcade thing, I always felt like it was the WrestleMania. I mean, it didn't matter that it was in December. It had been around since 1983, so
right, exactly. And you got Hogan, Butcher. You got what else? That's really the only match that matters, I think.
Flair, Vader.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Flair.
I know, not that great.
Who cares? We want more Butcher, more what was he? Zodiac
on
my screen,
or the Booty Man, or the Man with No Name.
It's a very important question. What is your favorite iteration of Ed Leslie? That's his name, right?
Ed Leslie, yeah. Dizzy Hogan. I don't know. Like, without like trolling, I genuinely think the reveal at Halloween Havoc 94 that the Masked Man was the Butcher is like kind of stunning. Like that's out of left field. But the fact that they had to put a match together is like where it kind of runs short. So I don't know. The Disciple, I think, had some legs to it because, if you're a character in the NWO, I guess you have something.
That was his coolest look for sure, I think.
Yeah, they just there's a Build-A-Figure coming out of that. The Monday Night War set, if you buy all the figures, the Build-A-Figure for that second set is the Disciple. The first one was Lex Luger at the Mall of America with the puffy shirt.
It is an iconic look, so I get it.
It is, yeah. So I don't know. I'd say the Disciple, but the Butcher, I mean, come on.
No love for the Booty Man?
The Booty Man, he had some like longevity for some reason. He was throughout 96, late 95, early 96. I'm surprised it lasted, but they always had work for him, or Hogan always had work for him.
I feel like once Johnny B. Bad left, they kind of just slotted Booty Man in that spot. Like, oh, it's kind of the same. You're feuding with DDP now. Nobody will know the difference.
Oh, brother.
Well, we get some Diamond Alley on this show, but
yeah.
Actually, I got a question about how you feel about the pacing of this show, because I thought it was kind of weird, like looking at the card. Two of the first 3 matches are cruiserweight matches.
Yeah,
which I felt was odd. You would think they would like spread those out a little bit. I don't know. Did that catch your eye? Or
you would think that, but they did Nitro like that, where they just put the hottest matches first. And I mean, the first 3, but I don't know. It didn't really throw me off. I mean, because the back end, even if we complain about interference, you definitely realize this is our bread and butter. These matches matter the most in WCW's eyes, whether they put the cruiserweights on and they have a great match. The main stories are going to be in that back half. But yeah, I kind of agree with you where I would have assumed something would have spaced it out. And I don't think there was really like a dud match on the show outside of the unfortunate women's title match.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that. But, 96 wasn't very good for women's wrestling in WCW.
Was any year good for women's wrestling in WCW?
No, that title had 2 people that held it, and none of them were Medusa. So I don't know why they brought her in,
Really?
Dumped the WWF title in the trash, and then never gave her the WCW
man.
title.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. But first, we start off hot with the Cruiserweight title on the line. Well, I guess Cruiserweight title versus the J Crown.
All 8 on the line. So a 9 title. Talk about stakes.
Can you name all 8 titles that Ultimo Dragon has?
Hell no.
You're like an encyclopedia of this time. I figured you might know, but
I know,
it's not WCW exclusive. So.
No, but I did put on here that there's no better visual, I think, for a pro wrestler than him coming out with those belts. Like, that's badass. You don't need to know what they are for him to come out and say, damn, this dude, when does he lose? Ever? And he does. He wins.
He doesn't lose here. That's for sure.
No, that's right.
So yeah, it's Ultimo's 8 titles versus Dean's 1 Cruiserweight title, and it's a winner-take-all scenario here. Dean Malenko, man.
Yeah.
He is so over at this point. It's like, and that's kind of why I noted the pacing thing is because there's 2 Cruiserweight matches. This one it felt way hotter than the second one. And I'm wondering if that would have been aided if they maybe spread them out, but or maybe it's just Dean Malenko. People just love him because he's not your typical Cruiserweight guy. He's not doing the flips and shit. He's just a ground and pound dude. He's not, cutting these fire promos. There's not this crazy character. He's just a guy in black tights and black boots stretching out. A lot of Japanese people or Mexican people, whoever they throw in front of him. And the crowd's hot for him. I don't know. Why do you think Dean was so, why do you think the crowd was so hot for Dean here?
Well, because he was the Iceman. He was just stoic, and like the work in the ring was all he needed to show you. Like, he was so no nonsense. We'll talk about it when we get to the Benoit match. I think like we don't have to, talk about Benoit like any further than in ring, but there's no one that's like more realistic watching a wrestling match than Benoit. So like with Malenko, I'm kind of the same way. He was, I think, if you're a WCW fan and you watched like Lord Steven Regal come through, this was like the good guy version where like he's just going to beat you in the ring, and he's not brash. He's the revert. He's the complete opposite of that. And he's just bad. He won 1997 PWI 500  number 1. So
really,
so I think this would have been a part of that because they go like June to June in kayfabe. Right. So I think this potentially was a part of that actual year. So. And for them to be in Nashville, where they had Starrcades 94 and 95, additionally to this show, you don't know what you're going to get in regards to fans, like if they're going to respond. I mean, we had a crowd chant of USA during the Liger Rey Mysterio match, so that's where that's where they lie. But they were into Dean, so
yeah, no, the crowd was very receptive to the more kind of they're about the fire of they're like about the intent of the moves rather than the flashiness of them. Because like Dean was he was getting way bigger reactions than all the flips that Ultimo was doing or Ray or Liger.
Yeah.
But this opening match here was a great one, man. Ultimo, he busts out some fun stuff. Like he does this fake out because Dean's on the outside. Ultimo is like he's going to dive to the outside, but he does a springboard moonsault into the ring and then follows it up with a suicide. So it was just so smooth.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of crisp moves in this thing.
Any in particular stick out to you?
2 random things. One's the actual move that I'll talk about, but they did the dragon screw leg whip, and where the hell did he say it here? Maybe he said it. Yeah, Dusty's like, honey, what I did? What was that? Oh, it was dragon screw leg whip.
Because Mike today called it a dragon screw, and Dusty's like, what? What the hell? Dragon screw? I'm gonna have to use that later.
And the other part was he did the acai moonsault, and then Tanay's like, oh, that's because that's his name. And he's like, and dragon, the same thing. He was so all over the place. Dusty also said The most important of the 9 belts is the Cruiserweight heavyweight title.
Right. I didn't catch that.
He also
the gem.
He also calls. I love when he calls Bobby Heenan Bob.
Bob.
It's very, very casual, and like Bobby Heenan's like he's not gonna like heel on him for saying that. He's just like, okay, Dusty's just being Dusty. But the quick like body slam I thought was one of the cooler moves that Dean did, as well as the jumping tombstone. Good lord, that popped everybody. That was probably the biggest move of the match.
I might be thinking of a different show. Wasn't there a few tombstones on the show?
You're thinking of DDP hitting the regular like Lawler, like he's faced regular pile driver, but he hits it like tombstone. He just drops him on his head. He doesn't sit out for it.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that was gnarly. I also had one other thing to ask you. Whenever, like, I think it happens throughout the show, but specifically I just noticed it with the opening match. So Dean comes out, the camera is like at an angle and it like zooms in on him coming out, and then it like pans away and you look at the screen as he like walks to the ring. Like you don't see him walk to the ring.
Right.
I just thought that was a really cool, like it shows him coming through and then it just kind of leaves him and shows
that
like
was
the
kind
arena.
of a staple of WCW. Oh, of the arena.
Yes.
Because
well, yeah, of the screen.
And then pan to like the stage, like above them.
Yeah, the stage, but the crowd was just in the shot. That's all. But yeah, okay. That is one of their camera work at the entranceway. I always thought was pretty unique. So
it was definitely unique. I don't know if I like it per se. I was a WWF kid, so I'm kind of ingrained for that. Maybe, but
you'd rather just have them walk straight out and that's it.
Yeah, get some pyro in there.
Some pyro, yeah.
Zip line through the ring. That's all I ask.
Oh, that's it. Not too much. Come on.
But I noticed that tombstone and that power slam, like everything Dean did was so snappy and just impactful. There are some spots in this match where it's just Dean kind of just wrenching Dragon on the ground. Like he puts in this knee bar and then Dragon gets to the ropes and then Dean pulls him back and just locks in the same move again.
He did that a few times in a row. Yeah.
Then there's even one point where Dragon, like he fights out of it. And then Dean puts him on his shoulders like he's going to do this big move. And then he just drops him and puts him in a knee bar again. God damn it. I'm going to break your leg whether you want it or not, pal.
Very psychological. Love Dean Malenko.
Iceman. Dean hits a tiger bomb for a 2 count, and the crowd just makes an audible like they're just so behind him, man. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And a side moonsault, like you mentioned. Then Dean locks in the cloverleaf in the ring, but Sonny Ono out there with Ultimo Dragon distracts the ref and breaks up this move. But Dean's able to hit a brainbuster, which is one of the best brainbusters of all time.
Yeah, he pulled that out, and I'm like, man, Ultimo Dragon is just taking everything here.
He will not die, this dragon.
Or Ultimate Dragon. They couldn't figure that out either.
So they're starting to figure it out. The last show, it was just Ultimate Dragon. Now they're at least calling him Ultimo Dragon sometimes, but the nameplates and everything still says Ultimate Dragon, so I don't know. But Ultimate Dragon wins with the Tiger Suplex.
Oh, yeah.
For the win, which looked pretty nice. So now he has 9 belts. Ultimo.
That's right. Ultimo 9 belts. That's what they called him.
Oh, on the streets, that's what everybody was calling him. Yeah.
Forget Becky 2 belts. How about 9?
At what point is it too many belts? Like I don't want
more than this.
9 belts.
Yeah, can you imagine him going to the airport? Because back in those days, like he was taking all those belts with him. Like there was no, we'll carry the world title in a separate thing. We'll bring it on the road with us. Like I actively think he was traveling with all that, or at least Sonny Ono might have been.
Because I mean, on average, what do you think they weigh? Like 7-8 pounds, maybe.
Well, the NWA title's 10 pounds of gold, so probably within
it's cruiserweight, so it's less.
Yeah. Well, there's 10 of them, or 9 of them. So maybe he's got 50 pounds on him.
It's at least a full luggage. If you're going through the airport, it's a 50-pound limit. It's at least one of those. So it's
man,
probably going to cost you more money in the long run to have all these belts than it earns.
Well, that's why they don't do it these days.
That's why you don't win 9 belts at a time.
Yeah, you got to save.
Yeah,
save on that airport.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Airport run.
Good point. Any other thoughts on that one? I thought it was probably arguably the match of the night, I would say.
Match of the night, I would say for sure. Reaction of the night, no, we will get there. Second to last. So I'm very, you said Starrcade 96, and I was like, man, everything on the show is like, it's good. There's some good stuff. There's some okay stuff. I didn't think there was anything bad. And then there was like one moment where I'm like, man, I forgot about this. This is like one of my most favorite, like treasured WCW moments later on in the show. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So we'll get there.
Well, it was the crowning of the first ever WCW Women's Champion, right?
That's right. And did you also know that there was a WCW Women's Cruiserweight Championship that was never on WCW TV? It was only in 97 to 98. And no WCW like wrestlers won it. It was just Japanese talent. It failed clearly.
So it wasn't on TV. It was just like live shows.
I want to say one was on like Pro or like one of the sad, like it wasn't on Nitro or anything. Like, I don't know what the hell they were doing. Why even have it?
I mean, what would the women's equivalent of Cruiserweight be? Because it's not
Ryu.
Yeah.
Rio.
It's just these tiny Japanese women fighting
Like,
for. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. That's what it shocked me. I was like, man, do they care at all?
Like, we were doing great with this one belt. Let's add another. Let's really amp it up.
I know. Come on, more titles.
Well, we got the crowning of the first champion here. We got Medusa versus Akira Hokuto. Is that it?
Yeah, it's Hokuto. Yeah,
Hokuto.
Good. That was good.
I'm very cultured. If you didn't,
I botch a lot of the names currently, so I'm only good with the old school names because it's had 30 years to, marinate so I can figure out what the actual pronunciation is.
Whenever I think about like the women's division, both in WCW and WWF, I'm wondering like, because obviously they weren't significant, like they weren't highlighted.
No,
I'm wondering like, was there the talent accessible to have like a true division? I guess you would have to just pull a lot of women from Japan and maybe Mexico.
Yeah, division, no. Because really the only ones you could name, Hokuto, Alundra Blaze, Medusa, Bull Nakano. Yep. Then anybody else Medusa faced in WWE. So Leilani, Bertha Faye, Leilani Kai, the Jumping Bomb Angels. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like there's not many. Like that's why like now people that didn't watch like this time period, there was nothing. There was literally nothing. And now both WWE and AEW have just like plethora of women's talent. And like,
yeah,
you couldn't find 5 in any company at in the 90s.
Yeah, no, I actually noted that too. Like the comparison to modern day, because like you said, both WWE and AEW, like their main storylines involve women. And there's several different storylines, several belts, different tiers of time. Like it's crazy. And like there was talent in this time period. I guess not a lot of it.
For sure.
Like, I mean, any Medusa Bull Nakano match, like they had one the night after WrestleMania 11.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up.
Twice as good as any match that was on WrestleMania. It was.
I'm not at the second time we've brought up WrestleMania 11 on this show, which is arguably one of the worst. I tried
not to think about it, but yeah, you're right.
I think that match, correct me if I'm wrong, is on the. It's either on one of the Raw DVDs or it's on the 50 Greatest Finishers DVD. But I remember that match being over there because I think there's like a German suplex on the floor or something into the stairs. It was like a crazy ass fight. And I'm like, where was this all the time?
Dude, it was crazy. But I guess you can only have those two fight. I mean, fuck it. Just have a fight every night. Who cares? I don't know.
Every night.
Stupid Akira Hokuto out here. What's your favorite Akira Hokuto match?
This one.
Oh, okay.
She gets crowned champion. You know what the best part of this whole match was?
Nick Patrick?
Well, they did finally mention that he was NWO. They also asked, have you ever seen a referee with earrings in? They were just so off the rails during this show at some points. And this is actually where they do the the following match is where they do the leg screw comment. But
yes.
Lee Marshall's on this show or on this call. Do you know what he's famous for?
He does like the collect 1-800-collect.
Oh yeah, but on 1-800-collect. Oh, you don't know what he really did? Like outside of wrestling?
I don't think so.
He's Tony the Tiger.
That's right. No, you're right.
Yeah.
I forget.
I was gonna say this match was not great.
That's not the right one.
Mixed reaction.
Stop. I never know how to stop it. But yeah, it was not great. It was kind of sloppy. The crowd was dead for it. I bring up Nick Patrick because he was almost like what they were putting the spotlight on, because like you said, he's pretty much officially NWO, at least later in the show, I guess he is.
But oh my God, yeah.
Commentary is playing it up like as if he's slow counting, but no one hears in the NWO. So it's like, why would he be on the side of any? I guess unless he's just like the heel referee and he's on the side of the heel, which would be a Hokuto, I guess.
Sure. The referee counts from, I don't know if here we go. The Nick Patrick cadence, I always thought was so like, I want to rip my hair out.
You're gonna make me lose.
1, and then he like throws his arm back like 100 degrees. 2, and then throws it back again. Oh, like it's the longest 3 count of all time. And I'm like, every other referee is flying through. What is wrong with you?
I think I probably bring it up every WCW episode. His cadence just because it's so quiet too. It's like he's trying to keep the count a secret. Like he like gets in there. He's like trying too hard to. He's like counting under their shoulders. He's like 1, and then he does 2. It's like, what are you doing? This is why you hurt your neck. Is because you're just lollygagging, you're moving your body how it shouldn't, and it's just.
And there's sometimes I think he puts his hand underneath the shoulder when like it doesn't need to be there. Like his shoulder wasn't up. Why'd you do that? Then you have to restart another slow count again. Which eventually, when you get to Starrcade '97, when the whole fast count thing comes, you could spend a whole hour based on the cadence history up to this point. He was never capable of doing a fast count.
Yeah, I have seen that, unfortunately. Yeah, it's pretty even when he goes to WWE, it's not as bad when he gets to WWE, because I think they coach him up a little bit. But
probably screamed at him through his earpiece.
God damn it. Make him hear the count. Well, anyways. So there's an American flag here because evil foreigner. Medusa's out there in the red, white, and blue singlet. I think she comes with a flag, right? I think I missed it.
I don't know if she did or not. Yeah, I missed it too, apparently.
Because there was a flag there at some point. I don't remember coming.
It was a flag. Well, no one else brought it out. No, she didn't have anybody with her. And
somebody in the crowd had it. I don't know.
Maybe, but Kensuke Sasaki, which is Hokuto's like shoot husband, was out there, and he was like not having it with like the heel antics of Sonny Ono at one point. I think they acknowledged it because like Kensuke Sasaki was not really a heel,
right?
And I only remember him really being a U.S. champion that wouldn't give the belt away, and then they had to have one man gang like lay on him during a retape to get the belt off.
That was a dark period of the U.S. title, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that happens. But towards the end of the match, Sonny Ono gets in there with this big old American flag, smashes Medusa in the back with it as the ref is distracted because it's Nick Patrick and he's easily distracted. Hokuto takes advantage with a missile drop kick and a snowplow, is what I called it, for the win. So Akira Hokuto is your first ever WCW World's Women's Champion. Can't wait to see what this reign serves up.
One of 2 champions ever in the history.
And Medusa never won it. That's crazy.
No. Like I said, they brought her in literally to destroy the WWF Women's title, and they never gave her the WCW one. Man. Like, seriously, how you don't have to even think, like, put it on paper. Okay, she wins it. Okay.
Right. Yeah, have her win it. Have her be the first champion. We'll figure it out after that. But that should be, like you said, the foundation at least.
Yeah.
What other women? I guess there's like Sherry and stuff. And
yeah, Deborah. But they're all managers at this point.
It's 96. We don't need women to get in there and be athletes. Just rip each other's tops off, and
we're almost there.
ECW's doing, right? So.
Oh my God, ECW's doing. We talked about it. They were doing some crazy stuff.
Oh man. But yeah, so that happens, and after that, we get this really unhinged promo from Roddy Piper.
Oh, before we get there, to go to the WCW wrestling backstage area. You notice Mark Madden's back there, early Mark Madden.
Right.
DDP's smoking a stogie and blowing the smoke in the face of the guy that's interviewing him. And I just found it interesting, like, as we are now in 2024, how easily, well, sometimes this podcast can be done and all these technological things are being happening. WCW, as terrible as, some people might think, they were ahead of the game in regards to like going online, having AOL chats, talk to the wrestlers, when WWE didn't really have much of that. And then, of course, they succeeded them and got a lot better and what have you. But 96, you could talk to people online. That was pretty cool.
Well, WWF did have AOL.
Oh, yeah.
So you could get on there, throw on the dial up and chat away. I mean, I never chatted with anybody on, at least no wrestlers on AOL, but I only imagine it'd be super enlightening. At least
my AIM
interview did.
My AIM name was Rated RKO 519 for May 19th. So I was all in with
gee, I wonder when you made that.
Maybe
like a
06
time. Yeah,
I know, literally had to have been one year
when Rated RKO and May 19th were relevant. Yeah,
right there.
That's so funny.
Yeah, then we get to the Piper promo.
He says a lot of things. It was hard for me to absorb what he was saying because I was so fixated on his breathing.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Let me tell you something. I can't even do it without choking. But Piper's like, look, he calls himself a midget in comparison to Hogan.
Man.
He's like, he's all jacked up. I'm not, but I'm gonna figure it. I'm gonna really give it to you. I don't know. Did you make anything of this?
I love the end. He leaves and then Gene calls him back in. How's that hip? And he hops out on one leg. Like, that was the best part for me. But the best part is that he does it like into the camera. Yeah. Like, it was so funny to me. I'm like, man, he was so unhinged, and then all of a sudden he's like locked in for this little, I'm fine. My leg's fine.
Everything's fine. What are you talking about? Everything's completely normal in the life of Roddy Piper. I don't know what you're talking about, Gino. Well, more on his hip later.
Yeah,
I guess. But a couple guys who I would assume have pretty fresh hips here is Jushin Thunder Liger taking on Rey Mysterio Jr. And so there's no titles on the line, no stakes. I guess kind of just like a dream match is what they were kind of pushing this forward as. Liger, who at this point is already kind of a legend. Rey is arguably the wrestler of 1996. So big time, on paper, this looks like it's going to steal the show, but I don't know if it really even lived up to the first Cruiserweight match.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good, but I don't think it beat the first match. I have here, I love the surfboard. I think that's a lost art, although not everybody can be the size of Rey Mysterio to where you can pull that off.
Right.
That springboard into the drop kick, like catching Rey out of midair.
Oh, the timing of that. And he hit him like a... Yeah, the way Rey bounced off of his feet. It
like one of those, the cannonball into the fat guy.
Yeah.
In slow motion.
Said cannon. Yeah.
And then the what was that, honey? Oh, that was a dragon screw leg whip.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. These guys were just like losing it. So we had Ultimo Dragon did the Acai moonsault from the middle rope to the floor. Rey does from the top rope to the floor.
Had to show him. And
if you're watching WWE at this time and then you flip over to watch WCW, how could you not want to watch WCW more often? No. Like, you're not getting this even, in spurts with the light heavyweights in the following year, but WCW has these guys just like every single week, every pay-per-view, just like pulling out these crazy moves.
Right. Yeah, for the time especially. Just so revolutionary, at least for like the mainstream North American audience. You weren't seeing this.
Yeah, Nashville wasn't seeing it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a good match. Liger, it struck me because like Liger wasn't really a heel here. Rey's obviously a babyface, so it was the crowd I don't think was really sure who to cheer for, who not to cheer for.
No, they chanted USA.
Yeah, Nashville. It gave me memories of Hog Wild.
God,
South Dakota when I think it was Rey versus Psychosis or something, and they were just like, it was a very unsavory chance towards it. It wasn't that bad here, but
yeah, I've got that shirt. I wanted to bring this up. I don't have the shirt for this event. I don't have that one yet, but I do have this other piece of merch. Do you know the tagline for this show by chance?
I don't think so. No. what is it? Is this a Christmas stocking?
This ain't your
This
typical warm and fuzzy holiday special.
Uh,
I don't know how this is merch. I don't know how this happened, but for
it's a
Starrcade
little
96,
wordy.
it is. But the show was like 4 days after Christmas, so I guess that's how you want to promote it. But you mentioned Hog Wild, and I love the Hog Wild shirt better than the other Road Wild shirts, at least the one I have, because they're all black shirts. The one I have is if you're an event staff, it was orange, like the Harley, like orange, and it looks way better than just a generic black t-shirt. So bringing up Hog Wild. Yeah, because that's why they stopped doing Hog Wild. It was trademarked.
It wasn't because it was discriminatory towards big broads, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, I don't know.
Get them hogs out of here, but no hogs here.
That's right. No.
We got the Liger bomb on the floor. Pretty. I mean, the sound. It was a padded floor, but it still looked brutal. Obviously,
speaking of
Liger. Yep.
Of sound, how about the acoustics of the WCW ring for this show? This is another one of my great favorite talking points is how the ring sounds for WCW compared to other rings. It just sounds better and like a little bounce to it, but you still know it's wood under there.
Yeah, it sounds like less stiff. I mean, it sounds more stiff, like, but it sounds louder. Like it sounds like it hurts more so than like a WWF ring. I guess would be the way.
I always loved it.
Yeah, it's almost like clunky, but it's almost like it makes it feel more effective. I don't know. I think I like it. Like I said, I didn't grow up with the sound, but I think I like it.
That's right. That's right. It's a specific sound like it makes. Like you watch enough, you're like, here it is. You know exactly how it's gonna sound. It's pretty interesting.
Right.
If you're into that stuff.
If you're into that kind of stuff. But towards the end here, Ray goes for a top rope Frankensteiner. Liger shoves him off. Ray does a backflip, lands on his feet. Liger gets down with a Liger kick right away. Just like all one fluid sequence. It was just.
Glad you mentioned that. Yeah, he landed that, and I'm like, man, you said these guys' hips were in great shape, but their knees were not after this match.
Yeah. It almost looked like it wasn't like what was supposed to happen. Like it just felt like
yes,
was like a little
it looked close
on the top rope.
But they pulled it off. I thought it was fantastic.
And then Liger follows that up with the Liger bomb for the 1, 2, 3.
He also hit a Benoit headbutt.
Yes, and with those horns, you got to think that just amplifies the effect, right?
It stabs him in the eye, takes out his eye. 20 years before he thought it happened for real.
That's some foreshadowing.
Seth Rollins must have watched this pay-per-view as well.
Really, yeah. But yeah, so Liger gets the win, and like I said, it was a good match. I just think the roles weren't really defined here, so the crowd maybe wasn't as into it as they could have been. But I'm never gonna complain about Liger versus Mysterio. So
hell no. Did you notice the kick out at 3.1?
I did note that. Yeah, I was almost wondering, like, was he supposed to kick out there, or was
and they showed it in slow mo, and I'm like, that it might have been 3. I don't know. It was very, very close.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else the finish would have been unless Ray was supposed to win, but I guess it doesn't really matter.
Forget it. Liger wins. Hey, USA,
yada, yada.
USA.
Well, we got a couple Americans in this. Well, one American in this next match.
That's right.
Old JEFF Jarrett, right here in kind of his hometown, right? Where is he from? Memphis?
Yeah, well,
Nashville,
I think they kind of just played it up. I mean, he's the country star. Can you believe he's still wrestling now? Isn't that fascinating?
And he's still like, I mean, because he was never like, he wasn't doing these incredibly physically demanding moves. So he could pretty much do everything that he's always done. So, and he's still in good shape. He can still talk. Yeah. I would say he's pretty much as good today as he ever was, probably. So it's incredible.
And as good as he once was, but he's as good once as he ever was.
Yes. Luke Bryan. Love him.
Oh,
so we got a no DQ match. We got Jeff Jarrett versus Chris Benoit, accompanied to the ring by a woman, which always just rough to watch in hindsight. But
this whole thing was rough. The end that they didn't show until the replay, they missed it. Was rough.
The finish is really, I mean, I will say this. So, like, watching this after all those cruiserweight matches and the women's match, there was like a fire here and like a physicality that was not in those initial matches that like the crowd reacted to it, and like I felt it. Like it felt like these guys were fighting each other.
Yeah.
So that was really my main takeaway from the match itself, I guess.
Yeah, I told you. Benoit is the most like realistic wrestler like ever. The intensity, his offense, his selling, everything looks like it hurts, and everything looks that it hurts, and he's just laying it in.
Yeah, it's in my mind, him, Eddie, and Bret Hart are like in a class of their own in terms of like everything they do feels like there's so much impact behind it.
Yeah, it looks it looks as real as staged combat could look.
Right, exactly. But that being said, there's a bit of goofiness here at the finish here.
Oh yeah.
So unless you have anything else about like the match itself, like before the finish.
I've got Dusty saying stomp a mud hole, and he's filibustering.
He always slides in filibustering somewhere in these shows.
We got clubberin later on in the tag title match we'll talk about.
Clubberin, the tag title match. Yeah.
And then this match was like, again, probably one of the better physicality wise, but their ladder match at Starrcade 99 is unhinged and is fantastic. So in 5 years, when you get to Starrcade 99, you can
sounds fun.
You can mark that one. Yeah. Benoit, spoilers, Benoit, climbs the ladder and he could grab the title, but he decides to hit the headbutt and he still grabs the title. But when he's up there, like he has to like move the belt like just out of the way, and he falls this way and he like clips the belt as he's falling. It's just it's so crazy that he's so high up in the air that he's cresting the title before he does this insane move to not even win. But so yeah, they do go back again.
Like maybe grab the title and then headbutt him. I don't know.
Hit him with the title.
There we go. Wrap it around your neck. Oh, don't do that. So we got Jeff Jarrett and Chris Benoit. So yeah, the finish comes when Woman gets. By the way, we've gotten to the point where Woman is with Benoit and not with Sullivan, but they're still playing up. They're playing that up in a storyline, which is very, very weird.
Talk about working to a shoot.
I mean, it's an effective story. There's realism behind it, and you can feel the intensity whenever him and Sullivan come to blows. But
they also said that Woman, was it a new shirt or necklace, something that she had? They said Benoit purchased it for her, and I'm like, man, they are really, say what you want, but they're dropping these little storyline things in, and it leads to more physicality. You kind of buy it. Like, why wouldn't you be pissed about certain things? And
and this is. On the Nitros leading up to the show, Benoit and Woman were sending in tapes that were played on Nitros of they're in Germany. I don't really remember. They were just talking shit about Sullivan. I can't remember anything specifically that was said, but it was just very eerie and very, I don't know, it was just, and then you got Jeff Jarrett here, which the link between them is the Horseman. Benoit's in the Horseman. Jarrett wants to be in the Horseman. He kind of thinks he's in the Horseman. He's trying to, he wants to get in, but Benoit doesn't like it. So now they're, that's essentially the story, right? Is there any piece I'm missing? There?
No, they had the same type of storyline with the Four Horsemen from 95 to 97. Like it was Pillman, it was Benoit, it was Jeff Jarrett, it was Kurt Hennig. Like someone was kind of wanting to be in. Maybe they're in. No one wants them in. They just kind of played with that for a while. So, I mean, it worked. Four Horsemen are always going to be popular.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have the NWO up top. You got the Horsemen. You also got the Dungeon of Doom, who are still around, and they make their presence very much felt. So I think somebody's in a figure four or something. Woman gets in there with an eye gouge to break up the figure four that Jarrett had on Benoit. Arn Anderson comes out, and he's like, because whose side is he on? Is he with Benoit? Is he with Jarrett? He finds Jarrett, who's on the floor, DDTs him on the floor.
Lays his ass out with a DDT.
Ooh. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the ring, Conan and Hugh Morris come out and try to abduct Woman, I guess.
I don't know what the hell was going on.
Conan, wraps a sleeper on her. It was very...
Well, yeah, because she low-blowed Hugh Morris first.
Right. So she deserved it. I'm with you. Yeah. So at the same time... So Arn Anderson DDTs Jarrett on the floor, and almost at the very same time, Kevin Sullivan comes in the ring and
Ugh.
whacks Benoit in the back of the head with a wooden chair. Pieces of the chair go because the camera just catches the DDT, but
Yeah.
you can catch it in the replay. You can catch the piece of the chair flying out of the ring. That's how Kevin Sullivan had a shot to hit Benoit in the head with a chair, and by golly, he took it.
I'm assuming it was lay that in, brother. Like, I don't care. And it on the live feed, you see Kevin Sullivan get up there, and then you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to see and then it cuts to the DDT. Right. And then only in the replay do you see from God, like he was just, Benoit looks so vulnerable. And he takes this chair. And what are we doing with wooden chairs? I mean, I guess it's unless it's like balsa wood and it didn't hurt, you could get really messed up by splinters and stuff over the back of the head too. Yeah,
because I assumed that he got hit in the back. So I was like, oh, he got hit in the back of the chair. That's neat. And then the replay is like right in the crane of the head. No, that's not right. Cranium. Yes.
You're close. And, they should have put that clip in with a couple months ago. There was like someone that had a huge viral tweet where it was like, every time you watch a Benoit match, there's always one move where it's like, oh, there's another one. And there's some that I've put it forth. And then like this, he could have hit him in the back, but nope, hit me in the head.
Nope. And then, so Benoit's laid out in the ring. Arn Anderson, who just DDT'd Jarrett, rolls Jarrett in the ring, but Jarrett's arm just happens to roll on top of Benoit as they're both knocked out in the ring. 1, 2, 3. Jarrett wins, right? That was the
and Arn Anderson in the replay of that shot, he rolls Jarrett in and like is looking down. Like Arn's like he's like tired. And recall, he just like his last match was at Havoc 96. He's done wrestling anymore. They didn't know that yet, but that was like his last pay-per-view match. So who knows if he was going through any sort of health issue, or if this was just selling. But he's like looking down after he hits the DDT to sell he looks up and sees Jarrett actually pinning him. And he's like, oh no, I can't believe I messed this up. So great camera work, great selling, good stuff.
And but Woman finally gets in there. So Arn Anderson gets in the ring. He's pissed. Woman gets in there. I guess she just kicked the shit out of Conan. I don't know. But she's freed from his grasps and gets in the ring, confronts Arn Anderson. And then they all walk to the back. Gene's out there. He's trying to talk to everybody. Nobody wants to talk to Gino, which I think is very
And his mic was off. Did you notice that? His mic had it was like sucked. And I'm like, please, either don't talk, cut this segment, or turn the mic up.
Well, thank God they figured it out just in time for Deborah to come out there and cut a promo.
Deborah and Mongo.
Jesus fucking Christ. Somebody drop an anvil on this bitch. I don't even know what she's talking. Her and Woman don't like each other. They're both in the Horsemen, but they're catty gals, so they don't like each other. And Mongo, let me tell you something, baby. And he's doing his Mongo thing. And I don't even know what was accomplished with that promo, but there were things.
All I had was Mongo sighting. I don't think there was anything that he did that was relatively worth noting, but love seeing Mongo.
Oh yeah, I'm a big Mongo guy.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, brutal stuff there, and we get a little Sting vignette, which is fun. I think he appears later in the show, right?
Yes,
maybe he does. Or maybe, or does he? Or does he? I don't know. You'll just
there was a guy with Sting face paint, like on the hard cam, like face, like I was like, and I don't know if it's a mask or paint or it's a guy painted with the mask on, like Sting did, where he took the mask off and it was also just Sting. Yeah. So I'm like, if you're in the crowd and you see this guy, if he has any sort of build, you're like, is this Sting? What's going on? And then he did come through the crowd. We'll talk about that too, because there was some interesting stuff with that.
Ooh, well, before that, we got a clubberin on our hands here. The WCW tag titles are on the line. We got the Outsiders, team of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, taking on the Faces of Fear, Ming and the Barbarian. I mean, if you know who these guys are, you know what this match is going to be. That's pretty much what it was. It was just, I don't think they had much of a plan going into this. It's, let's go club each other. We'll beat up on Scott Hall for a bit. Big Kev come in here, give the jackknife, 1, 2, 3. Bob's your uncle, hit the showers, and this isn't a 5-star, athletic, whatever the hell. But it
No.
was a fun fight to watch. I don't know, what'd you make of it?
I'm a huge Ming guy because I grew up with Ming instead of like King Haku. So seeing him in WCW was always a treat. And I like Barbarian. The Faces of Fear were the only like legitimate piece of the Dungeon of Doom that did anything.
Yeah.
You know, I've got the Hall and Nashville sign happened before this. Hogan and the NWO are just rejects from the WWF sign that they just like focus right on. Like, you know, they're leaning into that, which I thought was fantastic. Nick Patrick holds one of the tag titles regular and the other one he held upside down. Don't know if that was on purpose. And as he did it and the camera's looking in on him, he has this like scowl. He's like
I think that's just his face.
Well, I thought it was like, you know who I'm going to help this match.
Yeah. No, it's you know, if Nick Patrick is supposed to be in the NWO, why would he be? Well, I guess if Eric Bischoff's also in the NWO, it's probably his doing to make him the ref of this match, because you would think that's a little unfair, you know.
Well, yeah, and the best part is Nick Patrick does the little like pat down of the Faces of Fear, and then he does the pat down of Hall and Nash, and as soon as he turns around, Kevin Nash gives him a slap on the ass like it's in a baseball game. Like, get him, you're good, you're fine. It was so subtle, and I never really saw that before. And I'm like, Nash doesn't care, man. He's gonna add whatever flavor he wants to this, and you look at it later, and it's like that was hilarious. So.
He's gonna add a little Nashville hot sauce, maybe.
Ew!
Come on,
woo crispy, woo tangy.
Yeah, I don't even think Nick Patrick really comes into play in this.
No, other than he didn't need to, because I have also here Faces of Fear, slow pin attempts. Did they want to win this match?
They are just savages. I don't know if they know that they're in a wrestling match sometimes when they're wrestling. I think they're just here to just make people hurt and make their bodies hurt. And
they think the stakes of this match were legit stakes. Like food.
they're still in the hunting gathering
That's right.
phase in their minds. But the Faces, they kind of dominate. I kind of mentioned they're beating up on Hall, which you didn't see a lot of vulnerability in the NWO up to this point. So it was interesting to see. You know, Ming hits Hall with a pile driver that looked pretty brutal. Some big boots, some stiff boots and elbows. And like there's a lot of this match that kind of just evolves into just kind of like hockey fights. But
Dusty referred to a suplex as a supplé, referencing Gordon Soley, which I was like, man, all right. Like Dusty Rhodes is all over the place. He'll say clubberin, he'll say supplé, filibusterin. He's all over the place, but damn it. Is it the most entertaining thing?
He's a man of culture. This Dusty Rhodes.
He truly is.
I'll tell you. But yeah, Kevin Nash gets the hot tag towards the end, takes everybody out, hits the jackknife onto Barbarian, and gets
which is a tough feat. That's got to be difficult. Impressive. God, he hauled his ass up.
Yeah. So outsiders get the win. They retain the titles. NWO is still undefeated as of now. So it was fun.
Did you? Yeah, it was. Did you feel like, because I watching this, I'm like, and I know, you know, the main event, of course, happens how it does. We'll get there. But do you think it's like better that the outsiders were tag champs for so long while Hogan was champion? Because let's just say you knew the hindsight of, okay, Hogan's probably going to take this until we have someone to get it off him. Wouldn't you think the outsiders should have it like less? Or do you think it's too much that they're just, we're also defending, we're also still winning? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, because I think it helps. At least the outsiders are still relatively new with WCW. It's only been half the year, so I guess you want to keep them strong, but it's just a detriment to the rest of the division.
Yeah, I guess if the idea is for the NWO to be this like we're taking over, like it would make sense for them to win all the titles. I mean, the rest of the division. I mean, because we've seen the Harlem Heat and the Nasty Boys fight each other for like 3 years.
Oh my God, I know
this. And then what we got, the Rage and Chaos. What were they? High Voltage. So they could have maybe had a run with the belts during this time period. I would not have been mad at that. But
the Steiners come into play again.
Yeah.
I think sooner rather than later. I think 97 for sure.
Yeah, because they're intertwined in this. They're kind of pseudo feuding with Sting, who's in the NWO storyline. So they're kind of involved at this point. But yeah, I mean, Hall and Nash, I mean, they produced, fun matches usually, and it aided the NWO story, which was carrying WCW at this point. So I'm not mad at it, but yeah, I feel like because whenever I'm like looking at these shows, it does feel like it's NWO, and then there's some other stuff. So
well, when you're NWO, you're NWO for the whole show.
Oh, is that what? I thought it was For Life. Is that not the title?
Oh yeah.
For yeah. I don't know.
I only said that because they interfere in every single match in this show. So
I don't know.
the
Do
end.
they
The back half.
Well, first of all,
I guess
before that.
Well, if Sting doesn't count as NWO, but you don't really know what's going to happen.
I think he might be in the NWO though. I mean, he's wearing the black and white. He has the bat.
Conceivable.
It is. It all makes sense to me. Hogan's here though.
Oh yeah,
is the promo you referenced earlier. So Ted DiBiase is like the NWO correspondent, and he's interviewing Hogan. Vincent's also there in the background. So is Liz.
Yeah.
What do you think of Hogan's role in the NWO? Because he's still just like Hulk Hogan. Like, let me tell you something, brother. But he's just a dick. Like, I feel like the NWO, like the premise of it originally was like, it was so based in realism. But I think when you bring Hogan into it, it's like, oh, now we're doing the pro wrestling thing. I don't know. Did you think he was effective in his role in the, I mean, maybe he was the head of it, but what'd you think?
I think he was. I mean, I have here Hogan's the best face and heel of all time. Like by the end of this promo, I'm just like, man, like he brought it together. And he is just a dick. Like that's what I always tell people. I grew up with Hogan as a heel. Like I did not grow up with Hulkamania. So watching these back, it's like he had no choice but to just kind of do something out of the realm of what he has done for 10 plus years. And I think it worked. I don't know if necessarily he needed to, I mean, he's on after the main event, like not cutting a promo, but like talking and like, he's just all over the show. And I get it, but I think, I don't know. Also hindsight, knowing where it ends up, like when he does lose eventually. And I don't know. I think they could have played it a little bit better, but I remember early on when Hogan did become like Hollywood, his at least Hog Wild, he was doing the like Hulk up.
Right.
Which is like so weird. Like why they're like, hey, we're not doing that anymore, Terry.
He's got one gear, brother. He might throw on different colors, but gosh darn it, it's still Hulk Hogan in there.
Yeah, but so I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think it served its purpose. So
yeah, I think maybe just like the juxtaposition of like, oh, it's Hulk Hogan, but he's the bad guy. Like it's just such like a clash that maybe
it's surreal.
Yeah,
it's surreal. You never would have thought you were going to see this. And like we said with the Outsiders, this is only the same. This is the same year still that he turned heel for the first time ever. So it's like we're still kind of new in this as well. So
we're only 5 or 6 months after it, which is wild. But boy, howdy, we got another vacant title that we're going to crown a champion here. We got the United States titles on the line, who I believe, so who was the champion before this? Was it Ric Flair, right? And then he got injured.
Yeah.
And the Giant took the title, but he wasn't the champion.
Yeah, and there's a lot of chaos.
Tony Schiavone's like, oh yeah, okay, this is for the United States title, but there's no title to give the winner because the Giant still has it, but then they have a title to give the winner. So there was some miscommunication there, but I don't know if they had a title made or.
That's what WCW is. There's some miscommunication there. That can be said for every show.
It's them in a nutshell, I guess.
That's right.
But there was a tournament to crown a new U.S. champion, and we have the finals here. Diamond Dallas Page versus Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
Who, these two happen to have been feuding for a while now. They were fighting for the Battle Bowl ring, and that could have faded away.
Let's go, baby. Battle Bowl.
Who knows where that ring is now? It was supposedly going to be a world title shot at some point, but I don't know. But DDP,
Battle Bowl lost this luster after the initial 3 because they did it 91, 92, 93, and then they only did it at Slamboree 96. Like, oh, let's just bring it back for a pay-per-view.
Because it worked so good because like the 96 version, like the final battle royal, it was like DDP, like Johnny Grunge, you had,
Barbarian.
I think who's the army guy, does the
Oh, Sergeant
armbar.
Craig Pittman.
Craig Pittman, like it was like
The
that
Code
tier
Red?
of guys. Yeah, the Code Red. So it's like, okay, are any of these guys going to be world champion? But I mean, DDP
No.
won and he eventually would
Yeah.
be, but not yet.
Yeah.
But we're on the rise here. Diamond Cutter's super over at this point. That ECW show we covered, I think there was a couple Diamond Cutters on that show.
Yeah.
People on WWF are doing it. Like it was like the spark that lit his character, but I mean, he's running with it. So we're on the ride. We're not at his peak yet, but DDP's getting hot at this point.
Oh yeah.
Always cool to see Eddie in this position too. And
he looks. I know it's not. It's. I mean, sure. He looked just like his son Dominic.
Dude, the hair, the mustache.
It's the same guy.
I will say that when you see Ray unmasked, it's like that's the same face. That's the exact same face. That's the only reason that I'll believe Ray when he says Dom's his son. But
I don't know when you would have seen Ray with his mask off. It's not like WCW ever pulled the trigger on that.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't do that.
Why would they do something so ridiculous?
There's literally no reason to do that. So yeah, you're right. They wouldn't do that. Shout out filthy animals. But
oh yeah. Great theme song. I had a great theme song for the Filthy Animals.
How'd that go?
I'm not gonna try it here.
I'll AI your voice into doing it. Don't worry.
That might be something.
If I can figure it out, I'll do it.
Of course, I have faith in you.
But match. I mean, the match is pretty good. DDP, Eddie Guerrero. You see this on paper. You know, it's gonna be at least solid. DDP is one point where he just jumps to the top rope, which is very jarring. Like you don't expect that from him.
Nope.
Eddie meets him up on the top rope. DDP shoves him off, but Eddie does a backflip, lands on his feet. DDP comes off, and Eddie catches him with an atomic drop. So that was probably like the one sequence of this match I was like, damn, this is some smooth stuff happening.
Yeah. There was a short arm clothesline I thought that was also a part of some sequence around that same time where DDP, they did like a reverse, and then DDP just laid him out with a short clothesline. And I'm like, these guys got great chemistry.
DDP had a fun moveset. That spinning powerbomb he does.
Oh my God. I'm like, was that Liger?
It was better.
Yeah, it was.
DDP, we're going to say it right now. DDP, better powerbomb than Liger.
That's right.
Thoughts
the page
from the listeners?
The page powerbomb.
The page bomb. It's not as good as the, what was the other move he had? The pancake? It was like a Styles Clash, but like it was like a lazy Styles Clash. You would just pick him up and just drop him face first. Do you remember that?
Oh, well, that was, yes, but I thought that was what he was going to do with Eddie. That's when he did that, like, on his knee, like tombstone regular pile driver. Like he picked it like
here?
Yeah, did he? I think I have it in here. Yeah, he did a regular pile driver, like you pick him up as you're doing a power bomb, but he just dropped to his knees instead of sitting out for it. So he just dropped him right on his head.
Yikers.
Also, the DDP dub theme is bleh.
You don't like
terrible.
it?
No, it's terrible. Come on. And you preface this by saying, hey, at least you don't have to hear Jericho's theme. Well, they found something else to piss me off.
Were there, because I don't really have the association with WCW themes, were there any other themes on this show that were dubbed over? Because I couldn't really tell, other than DDP's.
No, Piper's was all there. Unless Hogan, I don't know if Hogan had Voodoo Child yet. If he did, then yes. But everybody else, Liger.
Rey Mysterio's song always sounds dubbed, but maybe it wasn't.
No, that's, not only is it real, they did it for somebody. Oh, they did it for, dun, dun, dun. I think they did it for Loch Ness. Am I crazy? Super Brawl 6 versus the Giant. I think it's like,
man.
Dude, you want to talk Hoss?
That was him and Giant match. That's match of the century.
Yeah, forget Liger Mysterio, but I think he used that song, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll do some research on that. We'll figure that out. I also thought it was funny that earlier they also mentioned, Tony Schiavone mentioned that they were scalpers for this show, and then Tony was like, if someone said it's got to be legal, and Tony's like, well, that's not my problem.
Tony Schiavone hasn't changed at all over the years.
No, he's like, sure, we got people in the building. Let's go. Why not? I don't care.
It's the 90s. Who cares?
That's right. It was a crazy time for us all.
It was. But All that being said, this match is really just to set up the NWO involvement. So to kind of set the stage here, Hall and Nash have been trying to recruit DDP into the NWO because, and you're probably more familiar than I am, but DDP, I think he managed both of them early in WCW, right? Or is it just Hall?
I don't know if it was Nash, but he was around with Nash.
Right.
Yeah, but he was with them as the Diamond Stud, and they were still friends up until Hall passed away. So they've had a history forever. I think dating back to AWA.
Right. So they have a history.
And I think he was just like friendly with Nash too, like because I'm sure once they came back in, it was like because he was Oz and he was random characters, but I'm sure they passed
Vinny Vegas
in WCW.
Yeah.
Oh, how could you forget?
Good stuff. But I guess now that you mention it, it's more Hall that's doing the recruiting because he's like trying to play into their friendship. They've been doing this on Nitro, but DDP's been like, nah, I'm a lone man. I don't need the NWO. I have the Diamond Cutter. That's all I need. Bang. Upside down as a pussy, all that stuff. And Hall,
I recall him saying that verbatim on a Nitro. I can't believe they let that air.
Did he really? I mean, that's you could be joking or not. I don't know.
Well, hey, you're joking. I'm going through with it. Come on.
I was going ready to rumble, but
hey, I love that movie.
Classic. It's a classic. But Hall's had enough of this tomfoolery. He gets in there, gives the razor's edge to DDP, lays him out, but Eddie didn't see it. He was on the outside sleeping, I think. Yeah. But he gets on the apron, hits the as Dusty Rhodes put it, the froggy splash.
Finally successful. Did you see the first one where DDP moved out of the way, but not really? And Eddie's knees oh my God. Like he hit it like his neck or like his shoulder. Eddie's knees hit DDP's shoulder. Yeah. And I'm like, he didn't really get out of the way. It was a scary, scary spot. So I'm glad they were okay and figured out the rest of the match. But good Lord.
Able to get back up and hit it proper. So Eddie hits that froggy splash and becomes the new U.S. champion.
Yeah, but, and I thought Eddie was pretty over in this match.
It's cool. I didn't realize Eddie was such a fixture in like the main event adjacent scene like right away. Like because he's hasn't been there that long. And they already see the value in him, which is cool. So I think he was one of the final guys in the World War III match. So
yes, he was. Yeah,
but he doesn't really have time to celebrate here.
No, and I was going to say he starts fending off the NWO guys, and they're rallying around him.
It takes them because it's what Hall, Nash, and Six. Right?
Yeah. Oh, Six. It's a great little spin kick.
What do you think of Six's shirt? Did you catch it?
What the Six ball?
Yeah,
that's a pretty famous shirt, like out on the wrestling t-shirt game. Yeah, it's tough to get. Yeah.
Do you have it?
No.
No.
I'm all about the pay-per-view shirts. I'm not about like the individual shirts unless there's certain ones.
Because that'll just open up a whole other.
Exactly, it really will.
Open and you have to get all of them, and then you have to sell your house. That's the whole thing.
That's right. Can't be doing that.
Eddie fends him off for a while until the numbers game catches up with him. And it wasn't Six that hit him with a spin kick, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he was like in the. No, it was Kevin Nash that did it.
He hits him with his Pele kick.
Oh my God, the greatest X Division champion of all time.
Oh, obviously. But yeah, so Six takes his belt and runs away with it, which I would assume we're building to Six versus Eddie at Super Sold Out or Super Brawl, whatever's next.
Sold Out in the first ever WCW ladder match.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Sean Waltman versus Eddie Guerrero.
Hell yeah. That's a hell of a first ladder match for WCW.
I'll allow it. So good stuff there. You got a pretty good match with some good story development. We know where DDP's heading, so they kind of just lit the fire under that. So and setting up for the ladder match. So all's well that ends well, I guess, huh?
That's right. No matter how much interference we see.
Hey man, one man gang isn't the US champion anymore, so I'm happy.
Thank goodness.
Well, we got some giants here. We got some gangs. We got some big meaty men here. We got old Lex Luger taking on the Giants. Daddy. So, I mean, this is really just here to see if Lex Luger can get Giant up for the rack, right?
Yeah, and they make it seem like this could be the first major loss for the NWO, which is wild because what happens in the main event as well. It seems like WCW is kind of on the up and up. Before this match, a fan, like they show a fan in the crowd. I've never seen this in my life. So you know how, I mean, clearly the NWO has the too sweet, everybody has their own hand signal. Doesn't really show well with my stupid background, but we're working on it. There's a fan with just a plain yellow shirt that says in just black writing, "I am WCW 100%." So I love that he's like really with the company, but he does, again, I'll see if I can do it, but he does like this and this for WCW. It's like a hand sign. And I was like, I've never seen someone like back WCW like that. So it's kind of like you're doing the OK, but just open it up. And that's WC. And then just put 3 up.
I'm just trying to think of, like, is there a way to just do it with one?
Well, you should do it with your right hand should do the WC.
Right.
Just so, yeah.
WC. But like, my fingers can't I can't do the.
I don't think you have to do that. No. It's just do this to have it open.
Right, but like if you wanted to do it, like instead of doing the W, like the with the motion, we want a PNG
with the motion, of course. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do, but it floored me. I could not believe someone. Came up with a sign for WCW. Yeah, I was like, what? I've never seen anybody do that. Someone loves WCW more than me and Ted Turner. Can you believe it?
Look, Eric Bischoff laid it out. He said, if you're not with us, you're against us. And he said, you have 3 weeks to sign a contract with WCW or NWO. And this fella, he made Eric Bischoff. He told Eric Bischoff where you can stick it. So
that's right.
Bravery on this fella. Love it. You love to see it.
Yeah.
Well, Lex Luger's wet. He's veiny. And man, he is just he's pretty
so
hot
jacked.
At this point. No, he is.
He's so yoked. Pussy. It's unbelievable. He's sexy Lexi. You see the sign before they brought him in?
This guy's got like a 30-inch waist. It is ridiculous. He is like just lean and wet and vascular. Good lordy. Yep. Giant's pretty slender too. I mean, in comparison to what he would be.
Oh yeah. Well, he's not smoking cigarettes to the ring yet.
That's when it all goes downhill, huh?
Yes.
Oh boy. Well, we get a little this is kind of set up with World War III, which the Giant won, and Lex Luger was the final guy to get eliminated. So we're kind of playing off of that. And and Giant doesn't think Lex can get him up for the rack, and that's the whole thing. We get a little test of strength here in the beginning, which I think Giant gets the initial advantage, but then Lex backs him up all the way across the ring. But then Giant just punts Lex and sends him out of the ring like in one motion, which is the visual of that was crazy.
Because Luger's not a small dude, but compared to the Giant, it's like, okay.
Yeah. And a lot of this match, they're like building to Lex, like, can he get the Giant off of his feet? And then he eventually does with a neck breaker, and the crowd goes bananas for it. Ref gets wiped out at some point, I think. And it's like they don't even really acknowledge it, but Lex just kind of casually body slams the Giant, which is just wild. And Lex eventually does get Giant up in the rack. But fucking old Nick Patrick comes in.
Oh, this looks so dangerous.
It's a shitty little kick, but right in the back of the knee of Lex, while he has a 500-pound guy on his shoulders or whatever. And I guess they made it out unscathed, but because it is very.
Because like you can sell that, but you have to like be aware that it's happening. You get kicked in the back of your knee, it's a reflex. You're going down. Right. Like there's nothing you can do. So I'm gonna haul this massive dude on my shoulders. Oh, you have to just hope that it all falls the right way, or otherwise Lex Luger would have been crushed like a bug.
Yeah. Well, he survived somehow.
Yeah.
Lex takes out Nick. Oh wait, no. Then we see Sting coming in from the crowd. Has his bat in hand. In the ring, Lex takes out Nick Patrick.
But wait, before we get this adds to the main event. So when Sting's coming through the crowd, did you not see that annoyed, puzzled fan?
No, I did not.
Okay, well, do you know the fan that gets involved in the main event?
Oh, is that
It's
him?
the same guy. Watch when
my
Sting comes
God.
through the crowd. It's just so funny because, like, clearly he was just like bothered that he was too close to Sting or someone shoved him out of the way. But the dude's reaction is just like, huh? And he looked like
Wow.
annoyed and like puzzled, like, what the hell's going on? That's the same guy that gets in the ring later.
That is
It's
long-term
crazy.
storytelling right there.
He knew what he was doing.
I'm gonna have to analyze the show again, like the Trump assassination video. Like, this is gonna be crazy. I'm gonna have to get all the
angles, whatever you got to do.
But in the ring, Lex does get giant up for the rack. Very impressive. Like, I don't even think he needed the corner or anything to help him. Like, because at World War III, he had like giant set up in the corner, but I think he just picked him up this time. And I was walking with him a little bit, but goddamn Six is back in. This fucking 6-ball shirt and spinning kick taken out of the repertoire of Kevin Nash. Hits a spin kick into the face of Lex Luger, knocks him down. Sting gets in there, pushes I think Nick Patrick's down. Sting pushes Patrick down with his bat.
Yep.
And then does he take out Six, I guess, or does Six just kind of skedaddle?
Yeah, I thought he was already out of the ring. The crowd was popping huge just for Sting looking at Nick Patrick. They're like, dude, he is coming to wreck everybody.
Yeah, they did not care as much about Chris Jericho beating up Nick Patrick. They were all about it.
No, that's right.
And so Sting gets in there. He leaves his bat in the middle of the ring. He goes over to Lex Luger and whispers sweet nothings into his ear. And then he goes onto the opposite side of the ring and does the same thing to Giant.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sting leaves. So now we just have a bat in the middle of the ring. Yep. Lex and Giant are on opposite corners of the ring. Lex grabs the bat. He crawls over to the bat. But Giant steps on the bat, so he can't pick it up.
Great.
Then Lex gives him a low blow, grabs the bat, hits Giant like 4 times with it, hits him in the face, and gets the 1, 2, 3. So the NWO falls for the first time ever to Lex Luger. Just awesome story at the end. The ambiguity, the vagueness of where Sting lies, and kind of all the questions you have coming out of this, and then Lex getting that huge pop on the 3 counts. And I think all of the right things happened here. I thought it was good stuff.
This was fantastic. I don't know how much you've covered since you've covered the WCW of it all. Like, have you just done 96? Like, how far back did you go?
I started at Spring Stampede 94.
Oh, okay, great.
So I've covered everything since then.
So if you recall, maybe World War III, 95, Sting versus Flair, which is a great match. It's always great with those two, but they bounce around all 3 rings. That's one of my favorite pieces of why they have the 3 rings. Sting gets him in the Scorpion Deathlock and wins, but doesn't let go. And Luger comes in and says something to Sting. And and they've been playing it up a lot. And then Luger has Savage in an arm bar. He wins the match, doesn't let go. Sting does the same exact thing. And I just was reminded of that with this, where he says something to Luger, something to Giant. I just love that. Like, the story device is, I'm going to tell you something that only you and I know, but no one else knows, and they have to guess. And it's just a mystery element. It's fantastic. I love the Dusty says, "Hello, Martha," when he hits him with the bat. He's like, then Tony says it's a line drive, there's a home run, and there's a grand slam. And then he rolls the bat out of the ring. Great stuff. The pop was unbelievable, man. I got chills just thinking about it. And the crowd, like the shot of Luger coming up, he's in the corner. You can see out into the stands. Everybody is standing up with their arms up in the air. It is wild to see this finally. And as Luger even says, finally, like, someone goes down for the NWO. So this is probably one of the better crowd reactions to a finish for WCW that I've seen, at least in the main event level. And I'm just so happy for Lex Luger. People will remember him more for the Lex Express, like just remembering him. But he had so many great moments in WCW that I feel like people gloss over because of the failure of the Lex Express thing. So it was nice to see him. Sometimes it's nice to win one.
Sometimes, every once in a while.
So this was fantastic.
But yeah, because I started this timeline, WrestleMania 10, where Lex was kind of off the heels of the Lex Express. But
DQ finish.
That was kind of my introduction to watching Lex Luger, and I was like, why do people like this guy? He stinks. I'm watching him face Yokozuna, and he's in the Allied Powers. He's facing Tatanka. It's like
you went through the ringer with Luger.
Oh, I was like, well, fuck this. Who cares about this guy? And then he gets to WCW, and it's like a whole other animal, like you said. I don't know what it is. He has this unspoken charisma about him. He's just has this fire with everything he does, and it's a good story here. So,
and I don't know if you know the story of Luger was in WCW before, right? Of course, and then NWA and wins the title when Flair leaves in '91, but then he dips out and goes to WWE. Whenever he comes back or he wants to try to get back in the fold, WWE doesn't know that his final date is whatever, and he's just going to dip out. And Sting and Eric Bischoff got to talking about it, and Bischoff offered Luger like less than what WWE would have given him, but it was like a prove it deal, and Luger took it and clearly made everybody worth it. Like the deal was worth it. Bischoff looked smart by bringing him in. Because Luger, he knew Sting, he knew Flair, he knew all the guys. He'd been in WCW before, and even though it was take a lesser deal, he knew he had it. And if you're positioned right, things could go great. And that's what you see here. We talked about puffy shirt Luger and hit a huge moment in the first Nitro, and that was a huge deal for the Monday Night War. And then you get this, and next year he wins the world title again. So a lot of cool stuff with Lex Luger. I think that people might just gloss over when Lex Express is all that WWE wants to bring up.
I'm all about Lex's debut in WWE. Was a SummerSlam '92 when he had like the protein shake. It was like a backstage vignette.
The WBF.
Yes, yeah, that's right. That's what it was. That's my Lex Luger. Personally.
Motorcycle accident, and he got the 5-inch plate in the forearm.
Oh. He has a foreign object in every match, man. It's a little unfair, but we'll turn a blind eye to it, I guess. But speaking of surgery, speaking of metal plates, we got a guy maybe with a metal plate in his hip.
Oh yeah.
In this main event, the match of the century, the match of the millennium. It's non-title, but it's the match of the century. Hollywood Hulk Hogan, who is the world champion, but he's not defending the belt, against Roddy Piper.
Yeah,
man. So I haven't seen a ton of Roddy Piper matches in my day. I've seen all like the big ones, like I saw Brett and Roddy and stuff like that. So I'm like, I never know what to expect with a Roddy Piper match, especially here in '96. I will say I was pleasantly surprised. I thought this was a pretty heated match. They didn't do anything too crazy, and I didn't know what the finish of this match was, and I was very surprised by it. Yeah, I didn't know who won this match. I just assumed NWO wins, LOL. But
that's nice. I like that you go into it without the spoiler. It's just nice to know, because again, you went into it thinking what you've been told or what you've seen. NWO goes over. There it is. And I mean, again, there was no title on the line, so technically they did go over. They're never going to lose the title. But that's a surprising finish if you don't see it coming.
Yeah, I assume that even if Piper won, maybe there's a little bit of, shenanigans or controversy. But no, he just made this Hulk Hogan pass out in the middle of the ring, left him laying. Yep. So, but the match itself, though, I don't know. What'd you think of it? I thought it was pretty solid for what it was.
I think, for what it was, I thought so as well. Like I brought up before, he wrestled at WrestleMania and Starrcade the same year. He also wrestled at the first Starrcade and the first WrestleMania, which is also pretty cool. Like 83 and 85, and he's still wrestling here, doing double. Yeah. It's just fantastic. I have the puzzled fan comes back and he gets into the ring, and you said, use a foreign object, they're oblivious. The referee had to be made oblivious, considering the Giant has Piper in the air for a choke slam for what seems like 30 seconds, which is an eternity when you're trying to just get away with it. And the referee is in the corner, so he can see the choke slam potentially being happening.
No, Hogan was in front of him. He was grabbing his collar.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
pal, you don't see anything.
Well, right, because if Piper's shorter than Hogan, as he referenced, then the referee is definitely shorter.
Right.
And the fan gets in. They kind of take care of him. And what do you think the true finish was supposed to be? Like, he gets choke slammed? Or, because it looked like it was supposed to be him kicking Hogan and kind of getting out of it. And
I think
he had him in there for so long. But
yeah, and that's the only reason that I think that Giant would hold Roddy up, unless he's like, unless it charges up the choke slam if you hold him up longer and it makes it more impactful. I don't know the science behind it.
Puts him through the ring.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he learned that from the Dungeon of Doom. He has those magical powers, and I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting because he held Roddy up, like you said. Fan gets in the ring. Hogan and the ref shit can that ref or the fan.
Yeah,
and but then Giant. So Hogan goes over to the choke slam that's about to happen. Roddy kicks Hogan off, and Roddy clotheslines the Giant over the top rope. And then I think Roddy just locks in the sleeper right after that, right?
Yep, it's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, Hogan, they do the, 1, 2, 3, bring down the arm. And no Hulk up here. Hogan's out.
No.
And Roddy Piper beats Hulk Hogan in the middle of the ring, which is wild. So Hogan still has not beaten Piper. And after that, Hall and Nash storm the ring. Of course they do. And the Giant wasn't participating in, any beatdown or anything towards the end of the match. Kind of just walks right by Hall and Nash as they're coming out. I'm like, is that what's going on here? But I guess that was kind of playing into the story.
Yep.
Now, Giant, the show ends with Giant and Hogan yelling at each other, essentially. Because, Giant's pissed because nobody ever helps him in his matches because the Giant lost the previous match. He had no help there. And, Hogan's pissed that Giant lost, and Hogan says that Giant dropped the ball, which is very bold to say literal seconds after you lost a match. So, but
well, because he didn't lose the title, so what the hell does it matter to him?
So it doesn't count, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, that's what he's. Yeah, why not?
I guess it's Hogan logic.
Hogan knows best.
Did you ever watch that show?
I did. I just didn't know what it was. It was just like them living. I guess it was I don't know. It was like the most like nothing happening.
Them living.
Like the most nothing happening reality show, I feel like, ever. Like I felt like nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
You got Brooke starting her singing career. You got Hogan's going to I can't really recall anything that happened actually now that you mentioned about there's really no storylines or
exactly. You'd think for arguably the most important wrestler of all time, you'd have some sort of entertaining reality show, but
well, I think the only solution here is we gotta do a watch along of Hogan Knows Best and
I guess you're right.
Give an educated opinion on it because the fans deserve to know.
That's right. But yeah, so the Giant gets effectively kicked out here of the NWO. And because he was pissed that, I won World War III. Where's my title shot? And
right.
Spoilers, you will get that match at Sold Out 97.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
Already got some infighting with like as far as the NWO goes, like where do you think, like at this point in time, like where are they in terms of like where their peak was, where it started to go downhill? Where do you think they are?
It's tough to say. Because I mean, I mentioned to you, like Uncensored 97, I feel like is when a lot of stuff is like it's so hot. Like everybody is firing on all cylinders. I don't know. Like the NWO, I don't think cools down. Like even to Goldberg, like there's still an impactful group. And the Wolfpack was very popular. So even if you didn't care about the black and white NWO at that time, you had the Wolfpack. You still had a group under the NWO lineage. You could honestly just say, the finger poke of doom when they brought the groups together, maybe. But I would say, I mean, the peak, probably 97. It probably ended with Sting beating Hogan. Like the whole, like that's where because Bischoff always calls it an 18-month storyline, which would be from July 96 to December 97. Because like after that, it's not the same. and it was all for a payoff, not whatever happens after the payoff. So I would say the peak is throughout 97. You get their first pay-per-view, which it was so unique, like sold out after the fact, looked like it was just another show. But the first one looks pretty interesting. Great PA announcing, a lot of fun intrigue with that show, and I'm sure you'll get to it. So I think they probably peaked the following year, but they didn't really gain all the members to an extent that I couldn't enjoy until like way later, when it was the B unit, your Bagwell, Conan, Scott Norton, Disciple, Vincent, Horace Hogan. Like I don't care. Stevie Ray. What are we doing? Why couldn't what?
Yeah. There's people I didn't even know I didn't know Stevie Ray was in the NWO, but that's a testament to how many people were in it. Is like
he's in the War Games in Fall Brawl 98. Team NWO.
Because they did the thing, in this timeline, like a few weeks before this, they did like, people are like I mentioned, you had to choose NWO or WCW, and you had random people like VK Wall Street join the NWO,
Yes.
but I don't even know if he actually. I haven't really seen him like on screen with them, unless he's like deep in the background, maybe. But
I think he did a lot of international stuff. Like he would represent them internationally.
He was their ambassador.
Yeah. Well, there was also an NWO Japan.
Right. Masa Chono, right?
Masa Chono. Yeah, I think you'll hear that it's sold out. It's Masa, my hero, Chono.
Oh boy. Can't wait. But yeah, we're cooking here. I mean, there's people joining the NWO at a pretty rapid pace at this point, but I don't think it's bloated to a crazy extent yet. But it is interesting how we already got like the infighting and like the kind of internal turmoil with NWO only like 5 or 6 months in, which I thought was interesting, which is why I brought up the question. So, but
right.
It's still hot. It's still driving the show, and everything is kind of centered around it. So I'm still enjoying it. But
yeah,
that is Starrcade 96, man. If you had to throw a grade at this show from a scale of S to F, S being one of the best shows of all time, to F being drizzling shits, what do you think you would throw at it?
So numbers, I gave it like a 6 out of 10. So I would say probably like a C plus. There was a lot of good stuff on here, nothing great. I felt again the Luger, like final 5 minutes of the Luger match was probably my favorite of the whole show, based on story, crowd interaction, nostalgia, just in general. Like it was just great to see all the Sting still not on a side yet, and he's still kind of mysterious, all that. And you get Liger Mysterio, you get Dragon and Dean Malenko, a lot of good stuff. But the women's title match, whatever, the interference in multiple matches, it's like, okay, it doesn't get to a point where I hate it yet. This is still infancy of NWO, but I'd say a good, but just not great show. Probably almost B minus.
I think that's fair. Yeah, there were a lot of intriguing stories coming out of this show, which I appreciate. And just enough good wrestling to where it wasn't like a slog to get through. So, I would say C plus, B minus for sure.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what's an A plus. It's the Juice Box.
Hey!
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, Juicy Lucy, hopping on the show once again. Where can everybody stick their straw in you and suck out all the goodness that you give the world?
They can suck it out every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, juicysteen.podbean.com. You can also listen to it on Amazon Music and on YouTube at Juicy Steen, where it's just the RSS feed for now. But eventually, I will try to do some video like the great Apron Bump does each and every time they throw out some great episodes. I'm so happy to do a WCW show with you. So, because the ECW one, I liked it primarily because I was aware of it, but I hadn't really rewatched it as a whole show. And it was fascinating. These shows, I could tell you most of what happened already. So to rewatch it, I'm like, I can't wait for the good stuff. And some of the stuff that I was blown away that I wasn't aware of. So thanks for having me on again. It's fantastic.
No, I mean, you're the mic today to my Dusty Rhodes on these WCW shows. Okay. I don't know what's happening, and you know everything. So it's a dynamic we need.
Wouldn't say everything, but I know enough to get me by.
Clubberin, that's for sure.
It is a clubberin, yeah, for sure.
But no filibustering. What else does he say?
Filibustering, clubberin, dragon screw, Acai Dragon. Is that the same? Oh, his first name. Oh, what, Dragon?
He's gonna dragon screw his wife.
Or the Dragon screw his wife is a great line.
Is that what he meant? I guess because
no, he just said like, oh, what was that, honey? Oh, it was just a dragon screw leg whip. Like that's the move he did on her.
Oh, so he's actually doing the wrestling move on her. He's like,
or whatever he does do. That's what he's referring to. Whatever he did do, and she asked what it was. That's what the answer he's going to come up with because he only knows wrestling moves.
Man, there's just a lot of images going on in my head of what a dragon screw is to Dusty Rhodes and
Bubber. You used to call Big Bubba Bubber.
Good old Bubber.
The mothership on TBS.
Once again, thank you to Juice Springsteen for hopping on the pod today to talk some WCW. Always a good time with Juicy J. Go check out Juice wherever you listen to podcasts, Juicebox Podcast, and follow me, all that stuff. Hey, let's hit that goddamn jingle, Bartholomew. WCW, ECW, WWF, who's the hardest promotion? Eric or Vince or Paulie? I think we can agree, though, it's mostly shit. All righty then. For the final time for the year of 1996, let's take a look at the scoreboard. The hardest promotion, Battle of 1996, comes to a conclusion here, or at least a rough draft of the conclusion. As of right now, where the standings are, WWF has 13 points. WCW has 5 points. ECW has 4 points. Where do these points come from? Well, if you're watching on YouTube, I'll walk you through it. You can see the whole scoreboard here. But if you're listening in audio land, I will walk you through it as well. But first things first, before we get into anything, we got to grade this show. So we'll move over here from a scale of S to F. S being one of the best shows that's ever occurred on planet Earth. F being a show that I'd rather... I'm running out of things that are bad. That I'd rather stand on a stage and take a bullet in the ear than watch. So, where does this stand? Where does this stand? I know we were just talking in the pod. We were thinking B or C, and I think that's fair. The question is it a B or a C? So if we're looking at past shows, right? World War III got a D. Halloween Havoc got a B. What the fuck happened on Halloween Havoc? I completely forgot. It was Macho and Hulk, right? I would say it's pretty... at the end of the day, I don't know if it totally matters. And I'll explain why. I'm going to throw a B at it. I think it was a solid show. Like the continuity through it, the pacing of it. There were some issues with the Cruiserweight, like we mentioned, but like I think overall it was a solid show. So it gets a B. So we move over to this tab and we look at which promotion has the highest average grade of their events, and still WWF is in the lead. 3.75, which equates to like a B minus, C plus, something like that. So we go over here to the overall scoreboard. Best overall average grade still remains WWF, so they maintain those 6 points. And this show was not the best of the year, not the worst of the year, because we've had A's and F's. So if these stay the same, WrestleMania 12 being the best, Super Brawl being the worst. So no change in the points there, but the rest of the scoreboard, we're looking at the in-ring, we're looking at the roster and the star power, and we're also looking at the out-of-ring, and we'll get into each of the individual criterias within these umbrellas right now. So best in-ring. So we're looking at which promotion has the best in-ring quality, just in general, right? Currently, we're tracking WWF as the best. Interesting. So WWF, we're coming off of what, In Your House 12? It's not that great, but we're looking at the entire year, right? And that's maybe something we're gonna really have to confront in the finales, because after I do these on each episode, I'm kind of thinking of at this place and time, but maybe there's more to consider, looking at the year just overall, if that makes any sense. I think WWF has been the most consistent throughout the year. WCW has great stuff in the Cruiserweight division, but even that's not always great. And there is some, like on this show, you have stuff like Benoit and Jarrett. Like the fire and the intensity in WCW, I think, is unmatched. But just overall, I think WWF still has the most well-rounded roster from an in-ring perspective. And they just produce the most consistently good matches of the three companies. So I think WWF still maintains these 4 points. But I could be swayed. Let me know if I'm wrong on that one. Let me know if you disagree. Best match of the year, Shawn and Diesel. Worst match of the year, Ultimate Warrior versus Goldust, both from In Your House 7. I don't think anything on this show would be the worst. So what, the worst match on the card was probably the women's match. But it wasn't, it was a little sloppy, but it didn't leave like a terrible taste in my mouth, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't like, it didn't leave a lasting impression, Whereas Ultimate Warrior versus Goldust is going to haunt me in my dreams for years to come. So I don't think anything on this show overtook the worst of the year. Best of the year, again, I don't think anything was better than Shawn and Diesel. Match of the night was probably Dean versus Dragon. I don't think that was better than Shawn. Shawn and Diesel it was the main event for the world title. They were doing so many novel things with like the street fight element. The emotion, the energy it was awesome. Just really fun stuff. So I don't think that anything beat that. So WWF still maintains the best and worst matches, which is a net 1 point. So now we're looking at the roster and star power. Which one has the best overall? I think WCW is still killing it. I bring it up every time. They just have the most, up top, you have the uber mainstream star power of like the Hogans and Flairs and Macho Man and Sting. But they also have the really, nitty gritty cruiserweight stuff, like the, quote unquote, like what the internet fans would like with the indie darlings, even though it's not indie. And like your cruiserweights, your Benoits and all that stuff, Eddie. And then you got the tag team division. I think they just have a really well-rounded roster that WWF and ECW don't really have. So I think WCW still has the best roster. So they maintain those 4 points. Wrestler of the year. We're tracking Mankind. And this takes into account match quality, character, like everything. Right? So as far as people that are in the running for this best wrestler of the year, we got Mankind. You could throw in Rey Mysterio. You could throw in Dean Malenko. Just kind of thinking of WCW guys that you can also factor in. You can make a case for Hogan. I'm willing to hear you out. I don't think I agree. You can, Benoit, maybe, Eddie. I don't think their catalog, I don't think their significance was really felt this year, though, unfortunately. DDP made a good run, but I don't think he's quite hit that echelon yet. Who else? Is there anyone I'm missing? Is there anyone, at least from WCW, that I'm missing here? Again, on social media, I'll expand on these thoughts in preparation for the finale. But I think Mankind still takes the cake here. I think he started the year in ECW, did some great stuff as Cactus Jack, moved on to WWF, basically saved The Undertaker's career. A great program going on there with great matches. And you had the Mind Games match with Shawn Michaels. Just really good stuff. Really great character work as well. I think Mankind still holds strong as wrestler of the year. But again, I could be persuaded. Even if it's like, do you think Shawn Michaels maybe? Kevin Nash even, because the Diesel did some good stuff in the beginning of the year and then went on to go to the NWO. Has had some fun tag team matches. Obviously, the character work there. So there's a lot to consider there. I think that's something that we can dig more into. But for now, I think Mankind holds strong here. So WWF maintains that 2 points. Worst wrestler of the year. We're tracking Ultimate Warrior. And I've said this before, probably multiple times, but Warrior didn't have a huge impact on this year, I don't think, because he was only around for a few months. Now, those few months were cancerous. They were the drizzling shits. But is that bad enough to deem him the worst wrestler of the year? Because there's some bad ones. 96, there's some bad wrestlers. In WCW, because this is the show that we're talking about. Who comes to mind? Again, you can also make a case for Hogan. Who else? Who else on this show? No one really bad on this show that we just talked about. Like Duggan, he wasn't on the show, but he stinks. Mongo, I like Mongo. He's not worst of the year. Don't know. Again, there might be someone I'm missing, which is what I need you guys to let me know. So I think Warrior will keep him there for now. But that may change. So no change to the scoreboard yet. So now finally we look at the out of ring aspect. And this is all the gimmicks, the characters, the promos, the storylines, all that stuff. Best overall. So we're currently tracking ECW. Because ECW just has. Here's the thing. So WCW, we're tracking the NWO as the solitary best storyline going. But we talked about it a little bit in the show. That's kind of all they have going on. You got Horsemen and Dungeon of Doom kind of fiddle fucking in the undercard, but ultimately there's not a lot of different stories happening. I mean, there is, but it all stems from the NWO. But does that matter? I don't know. But ECW, I had ECW. WWF doesn't really. I mean, they have Undertaker and Mankind. Stone Cold's just starting to cook. So is Brett and Shawn. There was really some interesting stuff going on there, but they don't have a lot going on. ECW, they got Sandman and Raven. Sandman's family being psychologically abducted by Raven. You got the Dudley Boys turmoil. You got the Shane Douglas and the Pit Bulls. Also Shane Douglas and Tommy Dreamer, Francine Beulah. You got Eliminators and Gangsters. Like, just from top to bottom, ECW has just got the best package of, the best package of storylines. So I think ECW still takes the cake here for the overall best out-of-ring quality. Best character / storyline. I think we're still going to go with NWO. You could, we can get more granular with it. You can say Sting. You can say, Luger's Ascent or whatever, right? But this all is kind of wrapped up in the NWO, which is why it's the best, because there's so many subplots going on. Now you got the Giant and Hogan kind of coming at odds. So they got a lot. Just the overall vibe of the show is just very novel for the time. It's very fun to watch. So WCW maintains that 2 points. Worst character / storyline. So we're tracking Jerry Lawler for his feuds with Hogan, or if it's not Hogan. God, that would be awful. His feuds with Warrior and Jake Roberts, just overall commentary as well, and just his random little, the way he inserts himself and like anything Brett's doing. This is always bad. We're tracking Jerry Lawler as the worst character / storyline. Anything on WCW, and you can make a case for Benoit and Sullivan. It's not bad. It's just maybe you could argue it's poor taste, but I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I would not say that at all. Dungeon of Doom. I'm coming around on the Dungeon of Doom. I don't hate them. I like this iteration of the Dungeon of Doom. I'm gonna be honest. Hogan. We talked a little bit of shit on Hogan, but I don't think he's the worst. There's too much good also wrapped up in what Hogan's doing for him to be the worst character of the year. So I think Jerry Lawler still maintains this. So overall, I think so no changes. So this is, you're looking on YouTube. This is the rough draft of the final score. So I'm going to post this on social media. take a look at it. If there's anything you disagree with, send me a DM. You can send me an audio message. You can send me a video message. You can, like, on Discord, you can let me know. Which, by the way, join the Discord. I always forget to plug that. You can send me a message on X, on Instagram. You can email me, whatever. Or leave a comment on the YouTube, which I strongly encourage you do. Do you agree? Do you disagree with any of this? Anything that I'm missing? Are there different characters, storylines I'm missing? Do you have a different perspective that you can offer? Anything. I would love to hear your guys' input. I'll read it all on the finale this Saturday at noon Eastern, live on YouTube, where we find out who the hardest promotion of 1996 is. So that'll be fun. But until then, appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been a fun old time. Always fun talking some WCW. Appreciate all the support you guys give the podcast. And we'll continue on. 1997, man. I'm excited to get into it. We're going to make some changes. I'm going to make some changes to how we do this hardest promotion, but we're going to continue on. We're going to do it again. It's a fun time. It's a fun time looking at the landscape of North American wrestling and all the shenanigans, all the tomfoolery that happens within it. So, but with that, I'll love you. I'll leave you. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Love you all. Big old smooches all over your face. Mwah, 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 mwah. I'm hard.
And the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it.